Hello everyone, in this video we will talk about variables. What a variable is? A variable is a named storage for data. As the name suggests, we can change the data inside a variable. How do we declare a variable? Well, to declare a variable from ECMAScript 6 we use the let keyword, for example let number. We can declare multiple variables together, for example, let number x or y. A good habit is to define variables, if possible, as soon as we'll declare them. So let's understand what a declaration and what a definition is. So as you can see here, let number, this is the declaration of a variable. But then, when we try to assign a value to it, that's what's called the definition of a variable. So let number is the declaration, while assigning the value is the definition. So a good habit is to define variables, if possible, as soon as we declare them. This is because if we don't, the value that the variable will have will be undefined. So in this scenario, number has the value of undefined. Same for x and y. However, here number does not have undefined because we have defined the variable straight when we declared it. In older scripts, you may also find another keyword, var, instead of let. For example, var number and the value 1. We will talk about var, however, later. A variable should be declared only once. A repeated declaration of the same variable is an error. For example, let message ciao. There is no problem over here. This is a string. Let message buongiorno. Well, here we have a syntax error. Why? Because we have used the same variable name as before. Therefore, this is a double declaration for message, which causes an error. There are only two limitations on variable names in JavaScript. The first character must not be a digit, and the name must contain only letters, digits, or the symbols $ and underscore. For example, let username is a good variable name. Let test123 is a good variable name. However, 123 test is a syntax error because the variable name starts with digits. When the variable name consists of multiple words, like username here, it's recommended to use the Camel Case. Basically, words go one after another. Each word, except the first, starts with a capital letter. So for example, my first variable, as you can see, we start with a lowercase letter, and then each word starts with an uppercase. My first variable. There is a list of reserved words which cannot be used as variable names because they are used by the language itself. For example, else, export, for, if, or even let. JavaScript is a loosely typed language, so a variable can store any type of value, number, string, boolean, etc. So, for example, in a different language, like as the C programming language, when we declare an integer, we say int x. And in JavaScript, we do not need to say that this is an integer. We just declare x. There is no need to express what type of data type it is. That's why JavaScript is a loosely typed language. Sorry. Now let's move into Costants. ECMAScript 6 provides a new way of declaring a constant by using the const keyword. Constants are unchangeable variables. In other words, you can't reassign them to different values. So let's declare and define a constant, const number 1. If you attempt to reassign a variable declared by const keyword, you will get a type error. So now, after we have declared number and we assigned the value 1 to it, if we try to modify the variable number and assign the value 2, we will have a type error. Why? Because number is a constant. Unlike the let keyword, you need to initialize the value to the variable declared by the const keyword. So before we could have declared let num and then later on define the value of 10. With a constant we cannot do it. If we do const username, that is a syntax error because we have not defined the value into it. So the proper declaration of a constant is const username and instant define the value to it, which is a string, in that case Rob. There is a widespread practice to use constants named in uppercase. For example, color white. When do we use constants? Well, there are two types of school. According to the first one, you use constants only for immutable values like physical constants, software version numbers, byte sequence describing file types, etc. According to the second school, you use them always, as constants don't change value, and if a change is needed, we basically change the const keyword into the let one. In this case, you prevent errors while unintentionally modifying constants. Now let's talk about constants and variable scope. Variables and constants declared with let and const have block scope. So when we define a variable of a constant, it's valid only inside the block scope where they have been defined. By blocks, what do I mean? By blocks, I mean in JavaScript we can consider a block a class, a function body, an if-else body, or a while-for loop body. In general, the block scope is defined by the curly brackets where the variable or constant has been declared. We will, in the next video, we will try to do some examples in order to understand it. Moreover, if a variable or constant has been declared at the top of the script or outside of any scope, we call it global variable or global constant, and it has global scope. Okay guys, thank you for watching the videos and see you in the next one.